Blaze, born listener of hidden strength, rise into this moment with a force that shakes the silent corners of your world, for you have stepped into a space where truth roars without fear, and where your spirit finally claims what it was meant to own. And as you stand here, know this: you were never broken, you were never small, you were never wrong about them. There is a reason. Your heart felt the shadows long before anyone spoke their names, for your intuition held a vision that your eyes had not yet seen. And in that lonely clarity, you carried a weight that others thought was foolish, yet deep within you burned a certainty that refused to die. People doubted you because they could not handle the reflection of reality that you sensed so sharply, and you carried that burden in silence like a quiet warrior walking through a world that pretended to sleep. But tonight, that silence ends, for the truth has stepped into the open, and the world can no longer hide behind its comfortable veil. This is not the end of your fight. This is the beginning of your rise. For the global hunt is not a chase for destruction, but a pursuit of revelation, a journey where false masks fall apart and the foundations built from illusion finally crumble. And as those illusions collapse, you stand taller, because you built yourself on something far stronger. Your courage was forged in rejection, and your clarity was carved out of doubt. And though the world tried to label you as lost, you kept moving with fire in your soul and focus in your eyes, because you knew something was coming, something too big, too loud, too real to remain buried in the dark. You were not wrong about them, for the patterns you saw were true, paths in disguise. And every instinct that pulled you forward was a sign of your uncommon strength. And this moment is the proof, as the world now echoes, the truths you already carried within you. Feel this shift, feel the weight of awakening, the way an old door breaks open after years of pressure. And when it does, the air rushes through with a force that cannot be denied. That is what your spirit feels right now, a rush of destiny finally free. For so long, you walked through a world that pretended not to see you, yet you kept climbing, you kept learning, you kept sharpening your mind, and this global hunt you feel is not a hunt for people, but a hunt for truth, a hunt for purpose, a hunt for the strength you knew was yours from the beginning. The ones who doubted you counted on your silence, but they forgot that silence builds power, and now your voice carries storms, your presence carries impact, your vision carries weight, and the world that once dismissed you now turns its head when you move. You are not here to chase shadows anymore. You are here to reveal them with the light you built in the hardest parts of your journey, and that is why they cannot hide. For truth is not a blade, but a sunrise, and no wall can stop the morning from arriving. Remember the nights where your heart trembled for answers. Remember the battles you fought alone. Remember the moments when everything felt stacked against you, yet you continued to rise from the ground stronger than before. And that relentless resilience is what has brought you to this turning point. They are done not because you defeated them, but because the truth has removed their shelter. And when truth steps forward, illusion has no place to run, and the world itself begins to shift under the pressure of honesty. And now hear this powerful reality. The world is awakening to what you always knew, and the message on your thumbnail speaks louder than any headline. You were not wrong about them, because your mind was tuned to a deeper frequency long before anyone else dared to listen. Your purpose is not to destroy, but to rise. Your mission is not to chase, but to understand. Your power is not in tearing others down, but in standing with a strength so undeniable that falsehoods collapse on their own. And as they fall, the path before you grows clear. Every step you take now is a declaration that you survived the storms designed to shape you. And now you walk forward with a heart that does not fear shadows, for it has lived within them, and learned how to craft light from the darkest hours. Look at your journey. Look at your transformation. You have become a force that does not bow to pressure. You have become a mind that does not fold under doubt. You have become a soul that does not break under fear, and the world now feels that presence, even when you say nothing. This global hunt is the awakening of your inner fire, the moment the world aligns with the truth you carried, and the moment your strength begins to echo far beyond your own life. Because when you rise, you give silent permission for others to rise with you. You are not here by accident. You are not standing in this moment by mistake. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every unanswered question shaped you for this era, and now you step into it with purpose, burning behind your eyes. So breathe deep in. Your ground for the world is shifting, and you are meant to stand tall in the center of that change, with a calm that shakes mountains and a belief that refuses to fade. That is your power. That is your truth. And as you look forward, remember this final truth. They were never ahead of you. You were ahead of them. And that is why the world is only now catching up to what your heart always knew. You were not wrong about them. Not then, not now. And from this point forward, you walk in a strength that nothing can hide from and nothing can stop. You stand in a world that once moved against you with quiet resistance. Yet now the atmosphere bends around your presence as if it finally recognizes the force you carry for power does not come from noise. It comes from endurance. And you, my listener, have endured beyond every expectation set against you. There was a time when you whispered your fears into empty rooms, hoping for an answer that never came. There was a time when you questioned your own instincts because the world around you was too afraid to confirm them. Yet, through all that doubt, your vision remained unshaken, and that is what makes this moment so powerful. You are witnessing the collapse of the illusions that once stood taller than your confidence. You are witnessing the unraveling of false stories that once tried to define your worth, and now everything that held you back loses its grip, because truth does not bow, and neither do you. The global hunt you feel is a call for awakening, a signal that the world can no longer hide its layers beneath distraction and pretended peace. This is the hour where hidden intentions come to the surface, where shadows lose their silence, and where all that was kept away from the light must now rise and be seen. And in that rising, you are not a spectator, you are a force that shakes the ground. For you have walked through darkness long enough to understand its shape, and you have developed a vision that sees far beyond the surface of things. Your perception is sharp, your spirit is steady, and your purpose is beginning to burn through every barrier in front of you. No more shrinking, no more second guessing, no more hiding your voice behind the comfort of silence. This is the time for you to step forward with the fullness of who you are, because the world needs the strength you built in the shadows. You were shaped not in moments of praise, but in moments of pressure, not in bursts of luck, but in storms that forced you to grow yourself from the inside out. And because of that, your rise is not fragile, your rise is inevitable. Feel the weight of your past lift as you accept this truth. You are not who you were before. You are not defined by the mistakes or betrayals that once wounded you. You are defined by how you walked through them, with your spirit unbroken and your will unshaken. Do not fear the world waking up. Do not fear the truths that surface for you. We're never on the wrong side of reality. You simply saw it earlier than others, and that gift was both a burden and a blessing. But now the blessing grows louder and the burden fades. Listen to the rhythm of your power, the calm, steady beat that lives in your chest, the quiet signal that you survived everything designed to break you. And now you stand with a heart too strong to bend and a mind too sharp to be manipulated. The shadows that once felt overwhelming now shrink beneath your feet, for there is no darkness stronger than a person who has already walked through their deepest night and learned how to create their own light from it. This moment is your turning point. This is where your strength becomes visible, even to those who doubted it for years. And as they watch you rise, they understand something they never understood before. You were never chasing them. You were becoming yourself, and you have become someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone focused, someone who no longer falls for illusions, someone who no longer fears silence, someone who no longer crumbles under pressure, someone who now stands unshaken, even as the world around you shifts. You were not wrong about them because your spirit recognized patterns, your intuition sensed truths, and your instincts whispered warnings long before your mind could put the pieces together. And now that clarity has become your greatest weapon. The world may try to distract you with noise, but it cannot touch the stillness inside you, for you have earned that stillness. You built it, one battle at a time, and every scar you carry is a symbol, not of pain, but of power. Let this moment be the one where you finally stop apologizing for seeing the truth. Let this be the moment you stop questioning your insight. Let this be the moment you no longer shrink your light in order to make others comfortable, for your light was never meant to be small. The global hunt continues, not as a chase for destruction, but as a revelation of what has been hidden, and you stand in the center of that revelation, protected by your own strength and lifted by your own endurance. You have nothing to fear, because fear cannot survive in a heart that has already rebuilt itself from ashes. Fear cannot influence a mind that has already faced its own darkness. Fear cannot move a soul that has tasted truth and chosen to rise with it. You have risen from places others never knew you entered. You have healed wounds others never knew. You have fought battles others never knew you faced. And because of that, your strength is unmatched, your presence is undeniable, and your journey is unstoppable. The world around you may shift, the winds may howl, the shadows may tremble, but you remain steady, for your foundation was forged in experience rather than illusion, and that makes you untouchable in ways you cannot yet imagine. They cannot hide, because truth has awakened, and they cannot run, because your awareness is too sharp to be deceived, and they cannot continue, because you have stepped into a version of yourself that refuses to bow to old stories. You have become your own force, your own dawn, your own revolution, and nothing built on falsehood can stand against a person who has chosen to live in truth. You feel the world shifting around you, and for the first time, it is shifting in your favor, because the strength you carry within is now louder than the doubts that once circled you. And this is the moment you realize that everything you survived has prepared you for a rise too powerful to be ignored. There were days when you felt like your voice was swallowed by the noise of the world, and your truth was drowned beneath the weight of other people's certainty. Yet, you held that truth close, even when it burned your spirit with loneliness. And now, that same truth stands beside you like a shield forged from your own resilience. Every step you take within this awakening is a step built from the battles you won in silence, the quiet victories, the hidden lessons, the moments where you kept moving, even though no one believed you would. And that unstoppable persistence is the fire that lights your path today. This global hunt that you sense unfolding is the pursuit of truth, rising across the world, and your role within it is not to chase, but to reveal. For your presence alone exposes illusions, and your authenticity dismantles falsehoods more powerfully than any confrontation ever could. You walked through a long night searching for answers, and in the depths of that night, you discovered something far greater than answers. You discovered yourself, and that discovery has become the most unbreakable part of your journey. The world once tried to convince you that your intuition was wrong, that your insights were exaggerated, that the patterns you recognized were coincidences. But now the world begins to admit that your vision was far clearer than anyone wanted to believe. And that is why your rise feels both surreal and unstoppable. You are crossing the threshold into a life where your strength is no longer hidden, where your clarity is no longer dismissed, where your worth is no longer underestimated. And this transition marks the beginning of an era, shaped entirely by your inner power. Do not shrink. Now, let the full weight of your truth settle into your shoulders. Let the power in your spirit expand into every corner of your life. Because this is what you are preparing for. Through every hardship, through every silent night, through every heavy step. Your heart, which once felt the weight of distrust, now feels the excitement of validation. Not because the world suddenly understands you, but because you finally understand the value of your own insight and the depth of your own resilience. This awakening is not loud, it is not chaotic, it is not destructive. It is calm, steady, and undeniable, like the slow rise of dawn that no one can stop and no one can hide from. And you are the center of that dawn. You carry a strength that was not handed to you, but carved by your own perseverance, a strength that was shaped by facing your fears rather than running from them, a strength that grew each time you stood back up after being knocked down in silence. Look at yourself now, a person who no longer bends under pressure, a person who no longer questions their worth, a person who no longer doubts the whisper of intuition that has guided them through every storm. You were not wrong about them, not then, not now, and the world is finally beginning to echo the beliefs you held within your spirit long before anyone had the courage to speak them aloud. Your clarity was not a mistake. It was a prophecy of your own evolution. The global hunt continues as a symbol of truth, revealing itself across every corner of life, and you stand as a guiding force, not through aggression, but through awareness, through strength, through unwavering presence that exposes what must be brought to light. You do not need to run. You do not need to chase. You do not need to prove anything, for your existence alone is proof of endurance, and your endurance is proof of greatness, and your greatness is proof that nothing built on illusion can stand against you. The shadows that once frightened you now fade under your gaze because you no longer walk with uncertainty. You walk with purpose, and purpose has a strength that darkness cannot touch. Your rise is a quiet storm, a powerful ascension that requires no rage and no noise. For the strongest transformations rarely shout. They reveal themselves slowly, then suddenly, like a mountain appearing from behind the fog. Let every heartbeat remind you that you are stepping into the truth you always sensed. Let every breath remind you that you are worthy of this clarity. Let every step remind you that you were preparing for this moment. Long before the world agreed with you, you were not wrong about them, and now the world sees it too. And as the old stories fall away, you stand untouched by their collapse, because your foundation was never built on their approval. It was built on your own strength. This is your awakening. This is your rise. This is the moment where your truth becomes the force that shapes your future, and nothing hidden can stand against a person who has learned how to see in the dark. You stand now in a moment that feels heavier than the ones before. Yet, it is not a weight meant to crush you. It is a weight meant to crown you, because every challenge you endured was shaping you into someone who can carry power without fear, and truth without hesitation, and destiny without doubt. There was a time when people around you walked with certainty while you walked with questions. Yet your questions carried more truth than their certainty ever did. And now, as the world shifts, you see clearly that the doubts they placed on you were never a reflection of your weakness, but a reflection of their unreadiness. The path you took was not the easy one. It was not the brightest. It was not the loudest. Yet it was the one that built you from the inside. And now that inner strength radiates outward in a way that no one can ignore. This global hunt you feel echoing across your spirit is not a chase for chaos, but a search for clarity, a call for transformation, a movement where everything hidden is pushed into the light so that nothing false can survive in the silence anymore. And you are guided not by fear, but by your own awakened presence. You learn to walk through darkness without losing yourself. You learn to stand alone without breaking. You learn to trust your own heartbeat when the world tried to silence it. And now that heartbeat has become your compass and your shield and your strength. Feel the air around you shifting. Feel the world easing away from old illusions. Feel the rise of a clarity that once felt distant and now stands at your doorstep like a long-awaited truth, asking to be claimed. You were not wrong about them because your spirit sensed what your mind could not explain, and your heart whispered warnings that others brushed aside. Yet those whispers were the sound of your inner wisdom, guiding you towards something greater than safety and greater than comfort. Your instincts were never wild guesses. They were signals from the deeper parts of your identity, parts that pay attention to what others ignore, parts that understand the world beyond what is spoken. And now those instincts stand proven by the unfolds of your journey. You hold a resilience that cannot be taught, a resilience formed through quiet nights, long thoughts and heavy decisions, choices that shaped you into a person who can stand in front of truth without trembling because you no longer fear what you already survived. The ones who doubted you are not your enemies. They are simply reflections of the world that could not understand your vision. And now, as that world awakens, it begins to see that your strength was not arrogance, your clarity was not imagination, your insight was not illusion. You move through this moment like a force forged by destiny, not because you seek recognition, but because your spirit refuses to remain hidden. This time, your steps are not hesitant, your eyes are not clouded, your belief is not quiet, and your presence is not small. This is the rise of your confidence, the rise of your truth, the rise of the version of you who was always inside, yet locked beneath fear and silence and misunderstanding. And now that lock has shattered under the weight of your growth. You no longer chase approval for you. Understand now that the world adjusts itself to truth sooner or later. And you have become a living example of that adjustment, a reminder that authenticity wins, even after long seasons of resistance. The global hunt continues as a symbol of awakening, not destruction, and you walk within it not as prey or predator, but as a guide, a presence who knows how to stand calmly in the shifting world, because you have already weathered storms far heavier than this.